So how do we even dissect a news source anyway? So we want to start looking through this and see if we can figure out how we can be better consumers of news to know which news sources are reliable or not. Oops, sorry guys. All right. So all news sources are reliable or trustworthy, and many companies claim to be news sources, but are really entertainment blogs or websites, which are driven by advertising dollars and clicks, that clickbait that we've talked about. As a researcher and personal consumer of news, it is your responsibility to think critically about and evaluate the news sources you wish to cite. So we're going to go on to look at some of these things that you can use to help you decipher whether a news source is good or not. The first thing, and we've gone through a lot of this in that CRAP test that you were using for your media literacy assignment. So there's four main types of articles that may appear in a newspaper, magazine, or other news source like a TV. There can be these in TV as well. So you have your news story, you have your editorial, your opinion pieces, and then advertisements. Now, a news story is a factual prose story for print or broadcast media about a person, place, or event, answering these 5 questions: the who, what, why, where, when, and how. A news story is written in the inverted pyramid style, giving the most important information first and the details later. So think back to our McCain video that we watched on the very first day of class and how we looked at, are these people that are reporting on this, is this news? Are they being objectionable? Are they just commentators? An editorial, on the other hand, is a brief article written by an editor that expresses the newspaper or publishing house's own views or the TV station's views. If written by an outsider, it normally carries a disclaimer saying that the article does not necessarily reflect the publisher's views. Opinions. An opinion piece is an article in which the writer, who is not always a journalist or expert, expresses their personal opinion, typically one which is controversial or provocative about a particular issue or news item. So think back to our McCain videos that we watched, and I can repost that link for you guys as well. The very last video that we watched was of Bill O'Reilly. That would be an opinion piece. He was not always a journalist. He's not exactly an expert, but he definitely had a personal opinion that he was trying to express. It was controversial to many. Some of his remarks were provocative about that issue of John McCain and his vote on the Viagra bill. Next, we have advertisements. An advertisement is paid. It's a public communication about a cause, goods, services, ideas, organizations, people, or places. It's designed to inform or motivate, to inform you of something or to motivate you to do something. So you need to make sure that you understand the difference between those 4. The next thing is, who's the author? Looking into the author is important because you're going to be able to find out, are they a journalist, expert, or just like a regular person? Are they members of an organization or associations beyond the publication that they're writing for? Have they written about the subject or topic before? If so, has anything changed about the way they write about the topic? Like, are they consistent or acknowledge that they have any changes? And if not, why are they writing about the subject of the topic now? You can do background searches on the author. You can just Google their name. You can check their LinkedIn pages. You can check member rosters of well-known associations and organizations. You can do author searches in a variety of different databases. You have access to many of these through the library databases at College of the Canyons. So LexisNexis, that's a great one. Google Scholar, Factiva. So most of us learned about the who, what, why, where, when, and hows when we were in elementary school. So a news story is going to answer the who, what, why, where, when, and how. What is unknown, unanswered, or unclear should be acknowledged. So when you're writing a news story, if something is unknown, unanswered, or unclear, you need to acknowledge that as a writer. And as a reader, you need to know if they are acknowledging it. Other sides should be given a chance to present their argument. That's balance. And many breaking stories are incomplete or inaccurate due to deadlines and the 24-hour news cycle. If more information is available, the story should be updated accordingly. So we have an example. A person who robbed a store at 2 a.m. on the corner of Green Avenue and Main Street by breaking a window. Their motive is currently unknown. So there may be an update to this story later to explain what their motive was and any other additional information you as a reader might need to have. So I think we've all been exposed to clickbait. Be sure the main point of the story, the headline, like the words right here at the top of the article, and that lead the first paragraph of the article when you actually read it, match up and tell the same story, because many unreliable news sources sensationalize an article's headline just to get you to click on this stuff. A news story will have sources. A source is the person, report, or data being quoted in an article. Now, sources can be named or unnamed. Multiple sources or single sources, credentialed or not, close to the event or issue or not. There's a lot of different things that can happen with sources. So when looking at reports or data as a source, be sure to look at the producer of the information. Do they have a stake in the event or issue that could make the report data biased? So like if I'm doing a bunch of data on you guys as my own class and our success rate as students, perhaps I'm not the best person to make that judgment because it's in my best interest and yours that we all do well as a class. However, if somebody else, a curriculum committee or someone else outside of us in our classroom is using data to show success rates, that might have less bias than me as your direct teacher. Evidence. A news story will have evidence that supports the main story, and it should be verified. It should explain how it was verified. So evidence is not the same as a source. Evidence is the proof a source offers. Evidence that is verified has been checked and corroborated via the stated method of verification. Transparency is also really important because news stories and the journalists who write about them will make their work transparent. The editorial board, the publisher, and the advertising department should have an information barrier within the organization erected to prevent exchanges or communication that could lead to conflicts of interest. The paper and the journalist should have a code of ethics, standards, or guidebook associated with them, and we're going to go through that a bit later as well. Potential conflicts of interest or known association should be stated right up front in any article. For example, if you go to CNN.com and you pick an opinion or an editorial article that's been posted, the first thing they will do is tell you who the author is, what their affiliation is, so that there's transparency as to where this person's viewpoints might be coming from. Also, funding and ownership of the media production could be publicly available. So also about transparency, a news source or journalist will link their code of ethics standards on their website. I'm going to send you this as well because there is a society of professional journalists and there is a code of standards and ethics that they are supposed to follow. A reporter or news source will be upfront about conflicts of interest. That's any decent or good one should be. And then funding or ownership should be clearly stated on an organization's website, usually under the About page, but it could be in other places. So you can look and see where they're funded, how they're funded. For those of you that were in class when we watched Generation Like, when we watched that documentary, it told you right up front it was where it was funded and who was paying for this documentary to be made.